Well, you finally made the decision to let that difficult employee go. Or maybe someone has just handed in their resignation. What do you do about their pay? Hi entrepreneurs, I'm Vicky Brown, and you're in the right place if you want to engage your team, boost your business, and grow your leadership muscle. You know, handling the final pay for California employers can be one of the trickiest parts of the termination process. That's because there are quite a few rules around what you can and can't do. For instance, you can't hold on to someone's final check until they return that laptop, or anything else for that matter. These are considered two separate issues, and according to the state of California, any wages due are wages the employee has earned. That means you can't hold that money hostage. Many states have enacted final pay laws, and no surprise, California's regulations on the subject are specific. Employees who are discharged must be paid all wages due at the time of termination. So that means when you term them, you have to hand them a check, right then and there. Now, with the current global medical situation, that has been relaxed in practice a bit, but you still must make sure that they receive their final pay on the same day of their termination. And that final pay has to include all accrued but unused vacation or PTO time. And yes, you do have to pay out PTO. Even though you think of some of it as sick time, California doesn't. Once you elect to roll all your vacation and sick time into a PTO policy, California treats the whole lot as if it's vacation time, so you have to pay it out at termination. Now, if you have some sort of floating holiday or personal day policy, well, depending on how those are defined, you may or may not be required to pay them out as well. Have your employment counsel take a look at your policy because they can advise you. If you still have both buckets, though, vacation and sick, remember you aren't required to pay out unused sick time. You can count that as a win on the company side. What about direct deposits? Well, let me pause here to say a word about direct deposits. Strictly speaking, an existing direct deposit authorization by the employee becomes immediately null and void on termination. So that means you no longer have authorization to pay them via direct deposit. The only time that isn't true is if the employee has voluntarily authorized that specific final direct deposit. So practically speaking, that means that if you're planning on doing a direct deposit, you need to be sure you have permission from the employee. And that permission should be in writing. The final pay deadline rules change depending on if the person is terminated or if they resign, and how much notice of resignation you get. So think of it this way. If you're terminating someone, the idea is that you know it's going to happen. So that gives you plenty of time to provide for that final check. But if someone resigns, you may have no idea that today is their last day. So the law makes allowances to give you time to get that final paycheck cut and delivered. Now, if someone quits without any notice, you have 72 hours to get them paid. And by the way, that's 72 calendar hours, not 72 business hours. So if they quit on Friday, they need payment by Monday. So to make sure it gets to where it's going on time, we always recommend using an overnight service, or even in some cases, a messenger. And yes, it is that important to be on time. Now, the person may request that you simply mail the check. If so, the date of mailing is considered the date of payment. For that reason, be sure that you A, get the person's request in writing with a signature, and B, make sure you can validate the day or time you put the payment in the post. All right, so what happens if you make the payment after the legal deadline? Well, then you move on to the waiting time penalty phase of the proceedings. The language goes like this. Any employer who willfully fails to pay any wages due an employee who is discharged or quits within the specified time frames may be assessed continuing daily wages as a penalty. Yep, you have to pay them their daily wage for every day that you're late. And that waiting time penalty runs from the date the final pay is due up to a maximum of 30 days. So see, it's just better and less expensive to be on time with the payment. Oh, and by the way, don't try getting fancy with how you pay what you owe either. Quick story. One employer was so ticked off about having to pay out final wages to his terminated employee that he paid it all in pennies, in a barrel, filled with grease, and left it in the guy's driveway. Now, while that's not technically illegal, it turns out that after all the publicity that came from it, can anyone say social media, the Department of Labor did decide to take a closer look at that employer, and they found that he had failed to pay employees for their overtime work. That's according to the lawsuit that they filed against him. So see, just be professional about the whole thing and pay what you owe on time. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe and share. And if you're struggling with how to get your business off the ground and what comes next, well, check out the Leader's Journey Business Builder. I designed this completely free video series to help you with figuring out who your customer is and where to find her, how to sell without selling, how to package and deliver your service, and much more. Check it out by using the link leadersjourneyexperience.com. And remember, your inspired leadership is the secret sauce to having a high-performance team and a wildly successful business you'll love. I'll see you next time on Leader's Journey.